Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Hit Point Paints. Woo! My name is Sam, and for the next hour, I'll be showing you a map I've been working on for a Humblewood setting adventure. So, naturally, the stream is featuring some music from the Humblewood soundtrack by Mint Potion. But before we get started, I have a few announcements from the team. First, the Heckna Early Access PDF is available for pre-order, with the new content being released every week up until the final release. Chapter 3 is set to go out this Friday, and please check it out because it's filled with some beautiful maps, if I do say so, by myself. And I think it looks pretty awesome, and everyone's gonna love it. Second announcement, the Moon's Daughter Kickstarter campaign has less than a week left, and the art by Seb McKinnon in this book is gorgeous. Maybe afterwards, but you have to go see it. It's honestly beautiful. And your pledge for your first edition copy helps support the Pure Art Foundation. Third, you can also find the Big Bad broadcast on the last Tuesday of every month, right here on the Hit Point Press channel. Every month in a 5e actual play stream, the party takes on a new baddie from our Big Bad booklet series. We hope to see you there. You can also catch up on the last 2 episodes on our YouTube channel. So for more information and all the links, you can find them in the chat. Thanks again for joining me today, and let's do some art. And, let's take a look here. The map we're looking at, like I said, it's for a Humblewood setting adventure. And if anyone has any questions about this map or my process, just let me know in the chat. But let's do a little zoom in here. You can see more of the details. Let's go here. At night, in the rain. This is an interior here of a tower. This is the first level. And it's kind of an interesting angle, top down. This grass all around it is this top level. Gridded out, if you can see. I can also clump that up. Ooh, too much. Of course, being a battle map and not something like a world map or a town map, of course, has to have a grid all over the dang thing because you never know where players are going to situate themselves. Who knows what could happen if you flying out into the water, hopefully not, or ruining the lovely space inside here, candlelit other than a fireplace. And that's what I'm working on right now. Everything else is pretty much fully rendered. It matches the other maps that are part of this adventure. They're all kind of in the same color story, all nighttime rain. Final map has power, space. It still needs some color. Oh, almost got it. This is not the only floor of the tower. We have the second floor. Bedroom space, more plants and books here. Box in here, big kind of fire. So Maybe the most well-lit room. Not sure if these are going to stay here on this map, but they for sure need to match the color that I do. So I want to do the same color story. So it looks like it's part of the same universe, part of the same building, decorated by the same person who lives here. No spoilers, but the name of the person who resides in this tower is quite funny. It's Humblewood, and I'm going to be surprised by that. Wow, my process could potentially, if you let me talk too long, take a whole hour. So I'll try to keep it brief. Specifically for maps, it starts off with I get the rough design, the rough layout. You know, it's usually set to a grid, so I know where to place everything. Everything important, anyway, with the diameters of the structures, or if there's any kind of bridges or stairs, different levels, all of that usually comes to me already decided. And then I take that kind of like layout design and, you know, try and give it some life and atmosphere. So part of the process too is knowing what the setting is and if it's relevant, what the tone is for the adventure. This one, for example, even though it's for Humblewood, and immediately I could potentially make a map just knowing the setting and the general vibe. But this one specifically and uniquely has a film noir kind of vibe to it. It's supposed to be a bit more mysterious, and being, you know, in the rain at night means, to me at least, it needs to read it's moody. So part of the process, even before I start the line art, is deciding what kind of atmosphere to set, what kind of colors, especially in lighting, to set that kind of impression. I liken it almost like to concept art for movies, environmental design. You're trying to help with the immersion of the DM and the players, right? They look at the map and you want to feel like you could be there, that your character, you know, is in that room, is whatever they're doing, looking for traps, trying to listen for danger. It helps reinforce whatever the mood is supposed to be for the scene and for the adventure itself, if it's supposed to be a mysterious adventure. Even though this space here was kind of cute, I think it's cute. I love anything that has lots of plants and lots of books. Definitely looks like a cozy space. But with this lighting, you know, it also looks like a little bit more on the mysterious side. So you know that whoever lives here seems like they have a cute kind of setup, a cute kind of life, but whatever's happening, whatever's going on, doesn't quite set that mood. It's not sunny. You walking into the space, you might suspect that there's something to check out. There's maybe mysteries in those shadows. So yeah, that's a major part of the process, I think, is knowing that mood and then trying your best however you can inspire that anyone looking at it. Lighting is a go-to for me, but also with the color. And the color was tough for this one because you want to have it consistent through all of the maps, the different kind of like landscapes that you're looking at. You want it to feel like Humblewood, but you also want the specifics of what's going on to read as well. Yeah. Anyway, so I get that design of the simple layout, and then I start fleshing out all the little details. And try and, especially if it's a more creative angle, I'll zoom out again for you guys. See these little structures here, those are roofs. So even though you're up on the top here with this tower, you can look down and see that they're going to bypass some houses, something like a village on this rocky space. If you were to look below, you could see them down there. And right off the bat with the line art, you want to make sure that's reading to some degree. People can know what's going on. At the very least, if the DM is describing it to you, they look at the map and they go, okay, yeah, all right, I see what's going on here. I know that, that's a roof. So it's below where the folks currently are. My sketches. That's a good question to follow up after the process question. Yeah, honestly, with these maps, I kind of viewed those layout designs as my first sketches, but they're not mine. So my actual first part of the process ends up looking more like close to what the line art will be. Some people have to do a whole bunch of little tiny doodles to get the right image that they're looking for, but everyone's process is different, and I usually jump right into the line art. I have the luxury of being able to do that because I'm not the one also having to do all the design process of where everything's located. But for the few projects that I have done where it's been more like a world map or a city map, where I am kind of designing the buildings and doing more than just maybe the furniture inside, I have to do roughs. And I used to do them by hand, usually just a pencil and a sketchbook, but I've kind of moved to purely digital now. So they'll look like a lot of weird squiggles, but will slowly start to take shape. And again, some areas of it might start to look like the line art, while the rest still look like strange octopus creatures. But eventually, I refine it all to the line art stage. No one needs to know that started off looking like nice. Time to complete a map. Definitely depends on the map. And it also depends on if it's a standalone map or if it's a map as part of a series. If it's a map as part of a series, it actually helps cut down the time because I don't have to come up with the colors that I'm using. And I will get on a roll sometimes where it'll feel like it's just an extension of the first map that I was working on, part of the same art piece. But if I'm working really fast and the art gods are with me, then maybe it can take me only a few days. If it's a very complicated map, it could end up taking much longer than that. It could take a week, 2 weeks. If it's big, it could take all a month. But yeah, so there's a lot of variety in there and how long it can take. Also the process of doing maps it's like each one is a new beast, and I might think to myself, oh yeah, I know how to draw that. This is gonna be great, it's gonna be fine. I'll be done this in a couple hours. And then for some reason, the art gremlins say, no, you don't remember how to draw tables. Why would you think you know how to draw tables? And then other days, I look at a rough and a description and I'm like, how am I ever going to express that visually? And then a couple hours later, I'm like, oh, never mind. For some reason, these lines that I've made do in fact look like the strange thing I've never drawn before. This one actually went pretty quickly. I had to take a break in between working on other projects that maybe we could finish sooner, but coming back to this one took too long. Maybe if I'm lucky, be done today. Shh, don't tell my boss. My favorite map. That's such a good question. I feel like a lot of artists, whichever one I think, I look at it and go, oh, I've really leveled up my, especially lately, my rendering. Whichever one I think is the closest to what I envisioned, I go, that's my new favorite. But there is, what comes to mind is one that I just the other day printed out and put on my wall. So I'll have to mention it, but I guess the closest one to being my favorite was one that actually fairly early on in doing maps for Hit Point Press. I was one of a series where none of them at all looked like each other. And I don't know how much I can say about it, but I can tell you that it was a swamp. I won't say what project it was for, but I don't think I had ever drawn a swamp before. And I was just, sometimes you're just shocked by what your own drawing hands produce, I guess. And again, I think the lighting for it was a lot of fun and really moody, so that's why I liked it. And it was a battle map like this one. Dream map. Always tough to answer questions like that because I guarantee you, tomorrow I'm like, oh no, this idea would have been better. But I I really like Feywild things. I really like anything with a lot of like plants and greenery. That's the aesthetic that I like the most, but honestly, I've surprised myself with sometimes I just really like doing maps where I have those, like I said before, the ones where I'm like, how am I ever going to successfully visually make this happen so that people know what the heck they're even looking at? It can be a lot of fun because once you figure it out, then not only is there a, oh, okay, good. I'm glad I can add this tool to my toolbox if I'm capable of doing this. But also, usually those are the ones that I have the least amount of experience drawing. So it's nice to look at the finished product and go, oh, that's a whole other world that I am capable of to get, bring it to life. That's how kind of do the map sometimes is, at least for me, it makes it feel like that space and that world is more real, like it actually exists. Yeah, there's a part of making buildings or structures that sometimes reminds me of a bit of being an architect. And you have to kind of look at how things would actually work, because if you neglect something, then it can really confuse anyone who's looking at the map, especially something like this. We have a, what's going on here is this staircase that wraps around the tower, goes up all these other levels, right? And one of the ways that I'm showing where it is that you go is kind of with the colors and the shading. And it's true that if I were to include anything else that has to be visible on all three levels, I better make sure that it's there, because if it isn't or it doesn't line up, then people might be confused about the order of things or what is even going on, especially something important like stairs. I think choosing a color palette is, I think it's more complicated than people might imagine, and by people I often mean myself with every new project. I think it's part of just the rough stage and starting the project, but you know, keeping it simple sometimes is the best and easiest, just choosing something that suits the mood and the setting. But when you do something very limited and simple, you have to make sure that those colors work together and that you can have everything kind of represented. You know, like this is a more limited color palette, And it's a good thing the interior has wood flooring and wood furniture, because we have a lot of, more brown family in this color story. If we didn't, then I would have to introduce that as a brand new color. And you can do something like that if it's like maybe a spot color, which I'm probably going to have to do in this map. We have some furniture and things, and we don't want everything to just be green, brown, or blue. So we might end up adding in something bold, maybe like a red. We've got a little bit of purple going on here in the shadows, so I was leaning towards doing something maybe like a purple bed over here. If we're going to have a new color, have it be the bold color, and don't introduce too many of those. When you're working on something like Hecna, all of those ideas out the window. You should absolutely, with every map, pretty much no matter what the map is of, expect there's going to be colors. And in fact, in some areas where you think that would be too much or too gaudy or would be, no one should ever wear something like that. My eyes are blinded. No, perfect. If it's anything carnival themed, but especially Hecna, all the colors. And I say that, but you also actually do have to make them as best as you can work with each other. Even when you're using a color palette that is a ton of colors, you still want to make sure that you're repeating those same ones and that it still manages to work together even when it doesn't look like it should. That can also be like mixing patterns or textures. Something like this, I set it off with the first map, how I was going to do the texture for the stone, and then for this grass here, a lot of texture going on because they're big areas. And then these kind of like sharp highlights here is because it's raining. And so those stones should be a little glossy. And luckily it's raining through all of the scenes for this. So I could apply that same texture the whole way through. And then that also kind of reads as its own type of complexity. You wouldn't want one stone to suddenly be way more detailed than all of the others, because your eye will naturally go to it, and then all of the players will be, wondering what the heck that rock is. Is it even a rock? Is it a mimic? Is it something disguised? What's going on over there? I now want to go there instead of the tower, right? I think texture and color, but especially texture and how much visual interest there is really important to keep an eye on. Otherwise, you can end up distracting people from what's supposed to be important. Drawing characters is a whole other ballgame. Listen, even on in an ideal circumstance for drawing a character, which is just going to be perfectly straight on, I can't really imagine a map allowing for that kind of angle perfectly. And even when you have that perfect angle, characters are complicated. Every little bit about them could end up reading a way that you don't intend, and all of it has to look right, because if something seems a bit off, it's not like furniture where you can be like, well, that's that texture on that chair is because it is an old chair and it's lost a lot of its stuffing. But if a person's leg is looking strangely lumpy, then all of a sudden there has to be a reason for that. And again, can be very distracting. But getting an angle where you can tell what's going on, what the limbs are, what they're doing, all of those important things, very challenging. And you can't rely on things like movement or something like that can make a shape or silhouette a lot more easy to read. You just have the one still image, and if it's top down like this, if there was anyone in this space, for example, pretty much you would only see the top of their head, and that's just going to be a beautiful shot of wherever their part line is, and then maybe some of their shoulders, maybe a bit of the belly or something. And so you won't see much. So if you're going to draw people on a map, technically the easiest, arguably, would be top down like this. But if you have to draw a lot of people, trying to get creative with the different types of tops of heads is a challenge. Yeah, I've seen there are a lot of, there's quite a few different apps to use for map making. Really, the first purpose of a map is reasonably for players to know where things are located. You got to have your grid down, know how much space you have, how far you are from objects, all of that. And there are a lot of good programs that have a lot of different options for if you're just doing something simple, then they can really do the job. You're going to be limited to what they have available. You might not have the exact right objects that you're looking for, and there might be some confusion with the players where you're going to have to describe a lot. They don't have maybe glass walls. They only have stone walls, and so you have to use something else and just describe to the players, oh, that part is that color because it's glass. If you're not able to either commission someone or draw for yourself a map for your players, then you either have to try and make it in a map and maker and do your best to kind of describe to your players whatever's missing. But another option too is there are also some map makers out there that try and do more generic scenes that'll come up often in campaigns. You might be able to purchase map packs and that type of thing. But the thing with D&D is there are so many possible scenes, and as soon as you start getting into actual dungeons and rooms and buildings, generic is not always going to cut it, so you might have to do the legwork of describing for your players, or taking a generic map and just doing a little mark. X marks the treasure chest. Personally, I love drawing, so my advice to everyone always is to give it a shot. Try doodling it out. Worlds that inspire me. I think that's another one of those questions that later on. Oof, wish I said this one. It's funny. I think I didn't consider myself someone who has, played a ton of video games. I play video games, but there's kind of like a limited range that catches and holds my interest. But drawing maps, it's like, I was surprised. I would have thought that it would have been movies that came to mind that would have been my inspiration, and sometimes it is. But a lot of video games, they get their style, especially fantasy RPGs, kind of based off of original D&D, and it's like it's cycled back for me that I get inspired by video games that I've played, different levels where just the colors and the mood really sticks with you. I've caught myself thinking, where is this image in my head coming from that is all I can think of when I'm trying to figure out this map? And I go, oh yeah, okay, it's this random obscure level of Disgaea. But at the same time, it kind of makes sense, and I think that you can see that in my art style a little bit. I think there's also influence from comics, but for some reason in my head, it's like I think of video games, probably because you're moving around, looking around the space if you can, and in our strange brains, I think that kind of, whether you're aware of it or not, you store that somewhere. And if someone were to describe to me, okay, so this is going to be a map of a place that's entirely lava, one of the first places my brain goes to is like Minecraft. So strangely, I think it's actually video games would be the most common inspiration. And I have absolutely imagined a map that would be all lava, maybe a hellscape, but I haven't drawn that yet. Yeah, I can picture maps almost like your own kind of like infographic. It's like a diagram almost. So even though I want it to be moody and pretty, of course, first and foremost, it does have to successfully kind of communicate what needs to be communicated. Whatever information the players need to have. That's most important. I do play D&D, yes I do. I think that has vastly helped me in my map-making process. I am a DM, and the first maps I ever made, of course, were trying to figure out how to show my players what they needed to know. but I haven't had much opportunity to play. I've been a forever DM for the most part for a while, but I love druids, bards, and depending on the setting and the DM, I also really like playing a cleric. Yeah, I'm almost cheating a little bit, jump into the lighting, but I knew for these scenes it would be very important. Again, setting the tone for the space. Without the light. So this is kind of the colors that has been for the rest of the maps and scenes, because the other ones didn't have colors, didn't have light sources other than the ambient light in the landscape. So it really sets it apart from the other maps, which is appropriate because it's the last one. It's the final battle map of the adventure, so it's okay that it's much interesting, and I think the candlelight and the fireplace, all of these light sources really also show that it's for sure nighttime, because without it, you know, it could be more just sunsetting, sunrise. There's a high amount of light, there's a lot of visibility. So these light sources really tell you that it's night. Of course, even though it's nighttime, you can't make the space all dark and black as nighttime can be, because then no one will see what the heck is going on and where they can walk. So sometimes showing that it's nighttime on a map can be difficult. So you still want everyone to be able to see everything. I'm not sure how much how much I am allowed to say or what is available, but there is, shameless plug for everyone who knows about and participates in free RPG Day. There will be a Humblewood adventure for that has some maps made by me. So there you go, that's my answer. Let's get your hands on that. Not the one, not Wakeworms. That was, I believe that was last year's and recently won an award. You didn't know, but there's also this year again from free RPG. I believe. And of course, I have tons of maps and all of the Heckman content. What made me become an artist? Well, I think art class when I was like 7 years old. Somewhere in there, I remember was the first time that I announced to whoever was listening that I was going to become an artist because it was too much fun. And even though I grew up in a pretty small town and didn't know a lot of adults who did art for a living and made a living at it, I still decided for myself, that's what I want, that's what I'm gonna do, and I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I'll make it happen. So, like most artists can tell you, it takes a lot of perseverance and will. But as a 7-year-old me, it ended up being right. But even if I wasn't doing it for a living, it's just so much dang fun. And of course, if it's not your profession, you can still do your passion. And I like to encourage that in absolutely anybody who is interested in that. It would be very therapeutic. Yeah, aspiring artists, that's pretty much what I would tell them. Art is definitely one of those things where some people, they can make it into a career some people it's not for them, but when you're first starting out, put those thoughts aside and enjoy the process, especially because in the beginning, for everyone, including me, my first drawings were not the best. And if my only goal and my only happiness was a perfect final product, then I would have stopped a long time ago. Just try and really, revel in the process. Enjoy making marks on the page. If we get into Photoshop and making marks on a drawing tablet or a paintbrush, or there's a lot of different mediums that you can try. And whichever one you like, even when you're not sure how it's going to turn out, that's probably the medium for you. Wow, and look at that. Look at how the time has flown by. So I'm probably going to have to start wrapping up here. Thank you, everyone who joined me today. I hope you liked seeing a little bit of my process. I didn't get an enormous amount of work done, but I hope you liked my answers to your questions. I was able to give some helpful information to anyone, so that's awesome. So also if you want to check out Heckna, there are links to that and to the Moon's Daughter Kickstarter campaign. And we hope to see you in the next Big Bad broadcast, which will be on October 26th. So keep an eye out on our socials as well for a bunch of new content we're planning to bring to the channel. You have forgotten. My name's Sam. I'm a cartographer for Hickman Press, and my socials are at Sillustrate, so S-Illustrate. And I'm on Twitter and Instagram and all that. If you want to see more of my work. I hope you guys had as much fun as I did. For the lovely compliments, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. It's been a lot of fun, and until the next stream. Bye-bye.